The intruder. The intruder doesn't knock, doesn't break in, and never waits for permission. He simply appears, already inside your home, already watching, already smiling. Originating from the Mandela Catalog, the intruder is one of the most iconic and disturbing figures in analog horror. While many entities in the series rely on psychological manipulation or mimicry, the intruder is different. He's not pretending to be anyone. He's not trying to blend in. He exists solely to terrify. His face an unnatural stretch of skin and teeth, like a corrupted image file come to life. What makes the intruder so effective is the way he's first revealed, through a warped, unsettling home safety video that feels like it wasn't meant for human eyes. The video instructs viewers to avoid engaging with any unfamiliar persons and to hide immediately if an unidentified visitor is inside. The voice is robotic, the footage glitchy, and then cut to static, and you see him. His eyes are hollow, his mouth is too wide. His presence is wrong in a way your brain can't quite articulate, but your body understands perfectly. Just imagine that moment. A face bursting out of the screen. From that point on, looking at any screen never feels the same again. Unlike the alternates who imitate and infiltrate, the intruder is direct. He doesn't impersonate, he invades. He's the analog horror version of a home invasion nightmare, amplified through corrupted video feeds and unsettling silence. And somehow, that silence is louder than any scream. He doesn't need to speak. He's already said enough just by standing there. Trucidatum carnis. Trucidatum carnis waits in the dark, speaking with your voice before you even realize you're alone. It whispers your name from the darkness, and it whispers it in your own voice. From the deeply unsettling world of Vita Carnis, this creature, commonly known as the Mimic, is one of the most terrifying examples of biological horror in analog media. It doesn't kill for survival. It kills because it knows how to become you. Trucidatum carnis is a formless, flesh-based entity that lurks in the dark corners of urban landscapes, concealing itself in shadowy alleys, tunnels, and even on buses at night. When it finds prey, it uses its grotesque imitation ability to reproduce the exact voice of a human it has previously encountered. It starts with something small, a name, a cough, maybe a laugh, just enough to make you turn your head, and that's when it learns more. Unlike classic doppelganger myths, the Mimic doesn't need to look like you. It becomes you in the dark when no one else is around. It feeds not just on flesh, but on recognition. The moment you say, "Who's there?" it has already won. I can already tell you're imagining how disturbing it would be to hear your own voice in the dark. Its voice gets smoother with each victim. The more it learns, the more convincing it becomes. Eventually, it doesn't just sound like you, it speaks like you think. Vita Carnis presents Trucidatum carnis not as a wild animal, but as a horrifying evolutionary anomaly. One that has adapted to mimic the most dangerous creature on the planet. You don't see it coming, you just hear it. And it sounds exactly like home, the Iris. The Iris is more than a watcher. It is a presence that rewrites the world simply by observing it. From Gemini Home Entertainment, the Iris is not a creature you can fight or even fully comprehend. It is a sentient, cosmic-level entity that exists outside of time and biology, more of an idea than an organism, more of an observer than a monster. But when the Iris is watching, things tend to stop making sense. Its form is simple, a massive, unblinking eye, often appearing in distorted footage, warped topographical scans, or corrupted educational videos. But that eye doesn't just stare, it studies. And the longer it lingers on a location, the stranger things become. Plants start growing in impossible directions. Animals mutate, people disappear, or worse, transform. Gemini presents the Iris as the true source behind Earth's unnatural events. It is not killing anyone directly. It is altering reality at a fundamental level. Just its gaze is enough to twist biology and logic. The horror of the Iris lies in its silence. What should scare you isn't what you might hear from it. It is the way a single look from it can break the entire system. There are no threats, no chases, no blood. Only a slowly building realization that you are being observed by something ancient, and that your world is becoming unfamiliar. It's not hostile. It doesn't need to be. You're not a target. You're an experiment, and it's still watching. The Boiled One. The Boiled One spreads not through touch or sound, but through the very act of being understood. Introduced in the Boiled One phenomenon, this entity doesn't rely on physical force. It's a spiritual infection, a creeping curse that travels through media. The Boiled One spreads like a virus embedded in a televised program, quietly waiting to be seen, to be understood. It's basically an information virus, and honestly, it is definitely sneakier than YouTube recommendations, because once you understand it, it's already too late. What is it exactly? That's part of the horror. Some believe it is a fallen angel, others call it a war-born demon, a remnant of ancient violence twisted into a shape that barely resembles flesh. Its body is swollen and blistered, as if burned by knowledge too dark to contain. Victims of the Boiled One don't simply die, they descend. Mentally, the creature induces sleep paralysis, during which it whispers incomprehensible truths into the victim's mind. Communication becomes impossible except through Morse code. Isolation becomes total, and no one else can see it. It doesn't knock or scream. It infects through understanding. Watching the wrong tape, hearing the wrong message, or knowing too much is all it takes. The Boiled One doesn't want your body. It wants your consciousness, softened and silenced beneath the weight of something unspeakable. If you're still here, you've already tuned into this transmission, so there is no escape. Subscribe. The Painter. The Painter smiles as you scream, because that's the exact shade of red she was missing. Known as Mona Lanius, the central figure of the Painter series, this entity is not a cosmic horror or parasitic organism. She's a person, or rather she was. What makes her terrifying isn't what she is, it's what she became. Mona was once an artist, obsessed with capturing the essence of emotion in her work. But obsession rotted into madness, and madness demanded new materials. Paints weren't enough, canvases weren't enough, so she turned to people. Victims of the Painter don't just disappear, they're transformed into her art. Their bodies become brushstrokes, their final moments forever locked into nightmarish murals. She creates with flesh and displays her work in hidden galleries that are never found until it's too late. Her recordings are polite, calm. She speaks with the tone of a thoughtful curator, but behind the voice is an eerie stillness, the kind of silence that screams. Mona doesn't chase, she invites, she smiles. She makes you feel like you're part of something bigger, until you realize you are the medium. In a world of monsters born from space and sound, the Painter is something worse. Human horror perfected. The Moon. The moon in Local 58 isn't a light in the sky, it's a commandment written in orbit. In the world of Local 58, the moon isn't a silent observer in the night sky. It's a lure, a signal, a throne, a trap. For centuries, we've looked up at it for guidance, for wonder, for light. But in this reality, looking up is the last thing you should do. The moon's presence in Local 58 is never direct. It speaks through hijacked broadcasts, subliminal messages, and eerie public service announcements. One infamous message simply reads, "Do not look at the moon." And yet people do, because the real terror isn't in what it does, it's in how it makes you want to obey it. There are recordings of people walking outside in the middle of the night, eyes locked upward, emotionless. They don't respond. They don't speak. They simply walk toward the light, toward whatever is waiting. At one point, a dashboard camera captures a man driving through the woods at night. Screams echo in the distance. The moon hangs low above the treetops, glowing unnaturally. Then the feed cuts, and something breaks through. Not from the sky, but out of it. Local 58 never shows the moon attacking. It doesn't need to. It's worshipped by those who've seen it long enough. In this version of reality, the moon isn't a celestial body. It's an ancient invitation. They say you shouldn't look, but you just can't help yourself, can you? And each time you do, you're answering its call. Alternates. Alternates don't wear masks. They wear your face. Straight from the Mandela catalog, the alternates are reality's glitch. Entities that infiltrate our world by copying the people we trust. They don't just look like you. They don't just sound like you. They become a version of you that's just off enough to trigger something deep and primal. You know that's not them, but you don't know why. Alternates replace family members, friends, even public figures. One of the most infamous, alternate Cesar Torres, doesn't attack his friend Mark with brute force. He sends him a calm, desperate video message, pretending to be Cesar, asking for help. Mark goes to his house. That's all it takes. They don't chase, they don't scream, they convince. And once they're in your life, they don't just destroy you physically, they make sure you're the one who finishes the job. The horror of alternates isn't in their appearance, though that's disturbing enough. Elongated faces, hollow expressions, distorted digital voices. The real horror is what they leave behind. Silence, paranoia, and a world where you can't trust even the face in your mirror. You never see the moment they arrive. You only notice once it's too late, because they don't become you when they copy you. They become you the moment you believe them. Once you believe them, you're no longer the person you remember being. Jack Walton. Jack Walton was never found, but parts of him still smile on stage. In the Walton Files, Jack isn't just a missing person. He's the tragedy no one saw coming, buried beneath layers of corporate mascots and corrupted tapes. Once a family man and co-founder of the Bond's Burgers franchise, Jack disappeared under mysterious circumstances. But while the world moved on, something else took his place. That something wears a cartoon bunny suit. Its name is Bond. At first glance, Bond is just another animatronic. Rusty, jerky, with a too-wide grin. But the deeper you go into the tapes, the more that grin begins to feel personal. Bond doesn't just move. He reacts. He remembers. And that's because he's not just a machine. He's a coffin. Jack's consciousness, grief, or maybe just his pain has fused with the animatronic. The result isn't a haunted robot. It's a grieving father with no voice, trapped in a corporate mascot built to entertain children. The horror here isn't loud. It's slow. It's in the glitchy training videos, in the missing posters, in the way Bond tilts his head like he knows exactly who you are. Jack Walton never left Bond's burgers. He just stopped being Jack. Honestly, I have to admit, just talking about some of these still creeps me out a little. Out of all the monsters we covered, which one got under your skin the most? Let us know in the comments, because if you don't, well, they might. If you made it all the way to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe. And hey, here's hoping I don't have any nightmares tonight. See you next time. The Locust. The Locust, also called the Thumper, is a terrifying creature that not only lingers on your screen, but also breaks through it. This tall creature with stick-thin arms and hollow eyes lurks inside flickering monitors and old television sets, waiting for the right opportunity to break into the world. With its bizarre, tube-like appendages that throb and writhe like something half-living, half-mechanical, its face is a distorted parody of humanity. In spite of its hideous appearance, the Locust exhibits disturbingly innocent behavior. It uses broken sentences when speaking, misspells words when writing, and gives greetings that, if they weren't from a monster, would almost be cute. A predatory instinct that no innocence can conceal is concealed by this immaturity, but it is far more terrifying. There aren't the overt indications of violence that one might anticipate when the Locust strikes. The bodies of the victims appear to be undamaged. On the inside, however, everything essential is just gone. There was only an unsettling emptiness where life once flourished. No blood, no struggle. The creature harvests organs without even scratching, as though it were feeding on the very essence of humanity. According to witness accounts, there appears to be a clear pattern. First, there is a slight tapping sound on the glass. Then a long hand that resembled a stick reached out. Then there was quiet, save for the slight hum of a screen that shouldn't have been glowing. The arrival of the Locust is a somber reminder that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again, whether one is looking for food or a companion. The Operator. The Operator, an anonymous character whose very existence distorts reality, lurks in Marble Hornet's shadowy corners. Often confused with Slender Man, he wears a black business suit and has an unnervingly blank face, but don't be fooled. This entity has no known rules. Despite his infrequent on-camera movements, the Operator has a devastating impact. His approach causes electronics to malfunction, audio to become distorted, and minds to disintegrate. He manipulates time in a very limited capacity, infects memories, and subtly drives victims into madness rather than pursuing prey in the traditional sense. His behavior is a disturbing blend of animalistic instinct and sapient intelligence, and his influence spreads like a viral curse. Those who are marked by it become sources, with no obvious means of containing or escaping it. His most obvious power is teleportation, which allows him to move through space and possibly time with ease. After brief encounters, victims report experiencing abrupt disorientation, missing hours, or ending up in unfamiliar locations. In the meantime, being physically close to the Operator frequently results in excruciating seizures, suggesting that his presence interferes with not only the mind but also the body's fundamental electrical processes. The Operator doesn't kill because they're angry or hungry, in contrast to conventional monsters. His intentions are frighteningly nebulous. He destroys people from the inside out by allowing their confusion, fear, and despair to rot them into nothing. Those who cross him disappear, sometimes with whole swaths of reality. Others are left broken but alive, forever plagued by visions of a figure that appears just beyond the trees, the Bacteria. The Bacteria, also known as the Howler, is one of the most hostile and recognizable entities in the endless halls of the backrooms. Standing unnaturally tall and thin, with arms like dragging cord and a twisted, skeletal frame, it stalks its victims with terrible quiet. Though it looks delicate, the Bacteria is shockingly fast and powerful. It lures prey with distorted screams, then ambushes it without warning using stealth and imitation. Its quick strikes leave victims who often show minimal outward damage, which fuels hypotheses about feeding internal organs. Originally seen on film during the Found Footage #1 event, the Bacteria stalked Kane Pints through the maze before ultimately killing him. Later encounters suggested that the creature had become even more threatening and aggressive. Some theorize it originates from contamination, though this remains unconfirmed. Others believe it is a living extension of the backrooms themselves. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Running might buy you time but not your life if you hear its hollow howls echoing down the endless corridors. The Wretch. The Wretch is a monstrous anomaly that resulted from a tragedy at Moonlight Acres family campgrounds. Originally an average brown bear, Glenn Arthur offered it to the Iris in a desperate bid to replace a human offering. But this act of rebellion did not go unpunished. The Iris brought the bear back into something far more horrific, a towering monstrosity pieced together from the live bodies of its victims. The Wretch looks quite horrible. Its skeletal legs reach unnaturally long lengths, capped on human-like hands twisted into hideous forms. The elongated head of the creature resembles a canine skull deprived of life. Its whole body is a tapestry of sinewy red flesh, dotted with enormous pore-like holes and many sprouting twisted roots. The Wretch towers at full scale, 2 commercial telephone poles, a flesh titan lumbering across the forest. The Wretch started abducting camp people and merging them into its terrible form after metamorphosis. Victims like Mary Dean and Glenn Arthur are not only consumed, it's strongly suggested they remain alive, caught in a state of perpetual suffering within the creature's body. Every twisted silhouette, every hideous limb tells a tale of horror, and of something far worse than death, even if they are just seen momentarily in records. Quollum Carnis. Quollum Carnis, often known as the Monolith, stands like a forgotten titan at the edge of human understanding. This entity, rising approximately 120 meters into the sky, has no mouth, no eyes, and no voice. It is formed from millions of crimson fibers twisted together, culminating in a hollow, upside-down triangular head. I know exactly what you are thinking, but stop. In 1972, 7 of these colossal beings were discovered on a remote island in Hudson Bay, each perfectly positioned around a strange anomaly known as the Singularity. When inactive, they appear almost harmless, silent and statuesque, like ancient sentinels guarding a secret no one should ever uncover. Their mere presence feels like it disrupts the balance of nature, as if the entire world is holding its breath. But once, and only once, they moved. During that forgotten incident, Quollum Carnis unleashed its terrifying power. Its tendrils lashed out like whips powerful enough to topple heavy machinery. From the hollow of its head, it discharged devastating EMP blasts, frying helicopters and disabling entire battalions within seconds. Neither rockets nor artillery could stop it, and any damage it suffered regenerated within moments. In the end, against every instinct screaming otherwise, the monoliths retreated. They returned to their frozen watch, leaving behind only scorched landscapes and unanswered questions. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, and some islands better left unvisited. Needle Mouse. Needle Mouse, whose real name is Sarah Henderson, is the protagonist of the Needle Mouse series, which was developed by Shut Up JoJo. Tragically killed during her lifetime, Sarah's soul got caught inside prototype Sonic the Hedgehog games and started down a dark road of retribution. Her anguish and resentment ate her over time, and it finally drove Sarah to start a vicious campaign against her former friends. Sarah is totally in charge in her digital sphere. She can even project her presence into reality when called for, and uses Sonic's legendary speed and strength, bending reality at will. Her terrible influence is enhanced by her horrible capacity to trap the souls of her victims within the cursed game disc. Driven first by treachery, Sarah's moral compass lost direction as she started to hunt innocent people. The point of no return was her attack on Kyle, a lad taken in by her ex-girlfriend Lily. Sarah was clearly merely extending her own suffering, not fighting for justice anymore. The entity known as Atom only pushed her down this road. Visually, Needle Mouse looks to be a twisted Sonic. Purple quills, red eyes, and a frozen, disturbing smile. Only when she loses control do the deeper horrors under her surface show. Ultimately, Sarah's narrative is one of sad self-destruction. A once average young woman turned into a spectral monster by loss, resentment, and unresolved grief. The Man in the Suit. The Man in the Suit is a man who lost his mind to vengeance after the pain he endured, and eventually turned into a monster because of the hatred inside him. After losing his entire family to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he found work as a suit actor for the Godzilla movie. However, this job he found would eventually turn him into something obsessive and self-consuming. His obsession with the monster grew so much that he refused to take off the costume. Not during meals, not during breaks, not even outside the studio. He even insisted that he was Goji. He was no longer like a human being, and over time, man and monster merged into a single grotesque entity. He possessed unimaginable strength, razor-sharp claws, infectious bites, acidic boiling blood, and a regenerative ability so powerful that even a shotgun blast to the head could not stop him. However, this was not the worst part. The pain and hatred burning inside him were far more terrifying. He blamed Americans for the loss of his family and all the suffering he had experienced, and this hatred would lead him to do something terrible. During the filming of King Kong vs. Godzilla, he attacked Shoichi Hirose, the actor portraying King Kong, and drowned him right there on set. The rage that had been building up for years had finally exploded. The man in a costume had turned into something beyond our understanding. After all of this, the man in the suit's mutation worsened even more, and his body became even more gigantic, resembling a twisted god. His acidic blood could corrode metal, and his rage could destroy entire crews. He had transcended humanity. He was no longer a man in a suit. He was Goji, the living embodiment of vengeance and sorrow, a ghost sent to make the world pay for the pain it had forgotten. The Horned Serpent. The Horned Serpent, formerly George Washington, is a titanic cosmic entity from the Monument Mythos universe. Originally human, he changed upon cutting a special tree and entering Wonderland, a higher dimensional world. There, contact with reality-warping forces transformed him into a serpentine, godlike being. Blackened and lengthened, his body blurs the boundaries between dimensions as it stretches across the crust of Earth and beyond. Washington came back to the physical world following his metamorphosis and was imprisoned under the Statue of Liberty, under cover of government conspiracies. In spite of containment initiatives like Project Horned Serpent, he telepathically influenced events across centuries, subtly guiding major developments like the construction of the Suez Canal, and triggering catastrophic incidents such as the unification of 2003, which fractured the United States into different zones. The Horned Serpent causes great destruction, warps reality, and creates anomalies like the special trees and corner folk. Echoes of his influence linger across many worlds, even after the Great Division reshaped Earth into the Corner World. Fragments of the Serpent still have impact over fractured realities. Today, we talked about analog horror monsters. Most of the characters featured in this video were chosen based on your requests. As a channel, we are constantly working to move forward in every way. That's why your support is incredibly important to us. You can be sure that we carefully consider even the smallest piece of feedback you share. As for the video, which analog horror monster do you think was the scariest, and why? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video. Tinky Winky. Tinky Winky, the once friendly purple Teletubby with a triangle antenna and a love for handbags, takes a terrifying turn in the Slendytubbies series. Instead of playing and laughing, he becomes a monster after eating infected tubby custard. He's the first of his group to change and ends up brutally killing his friends, becoming the Tubby Terminator. At first, he looks just like the good old Tinky we all remember, still purple with a triangle antenna and a pale face, but once infected, he mutates. His body becomes bigger and stronger, especially his arms. At the same time, his face changes, showing sharp teeth and wild, freaky eyes. He chases players around, growing faster every time they collect custard. If you get too close or stare too long, he attacks. As the series progresses, he becomes even more dangerous, turning into a huge monster called Tinky Tank, who hits harder, moves faster, and can even shoot lightning. Tinky Winky might have started off handing out hugs, but now he has become a popular villain handing out trauma. He's more than just a spooky version of a childhood icon. He's a warning that even the softest characters can turn deadly. Just don't ever offer him custard. The Big Bad Wolf. The Big Bad Wolf is the main antagonist in the Fairy Tales horror series. He is mentioned in Little Red Riding Hood and the Three Little Pigs. Before, he was a young man, and his home was set on fire by bullies, which made him both upset and sorrowful. Once he took out his revenge on the bullies, he agreed with a witch to become a wolf who enjoys giving people nightmares. The wolf appears as if a big gray wolf is wearing blue overalls. When he pretends to be kind, he looks almost adorable, much like your neighbor's suspiciously friendly dog. But in truth, he has sharp teeth, wild eyes, and long ears. After he fights, his injuries make him appear even more frightening. He appears kind to his victims, but he is actually very clever and cunning. He murders without regret and likes to frighten everyone around him. He fools Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother before attacking both of them. The wolf's past tells why he became so cruel. His pain turned into anger and made him a total nightmare. Even after the last pig burned him to a crisp, his ghost continues to haunt others. The witch who helped him also plays a part in his story, and Gretel fights her to save her brother's soul. The Big Bad Wolf describes how pain and anger can turn even the fluffiest creatures into villains. His story shows how darkness can linger from deep hurt, even beyond death. Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, also known as the Moon God, is a minor character in the horror series The Monument Mythos and the antagonist of its sequel series, The Nixonverse. Instead of resigning from the 37th U.S. presidency, This version of Nixon becomes a godlike being after surviving the destruction of his universe. Before things got strange, Nixon's story mostly followed real history until the 1968 election. Instead of running against Hubert Humphrey, he faces off with James Dean. But instead of a debate, Dean challenges Nixon to a car race. They become friends, race regularly, and Nixon admits Dean might make a better president. Even after Dean wins, their friendship remains strong. That is until February 22nd, 2022, when a disaster called the Great Division destroys their universe. Nixon somehow survives and gains superpowers. Unsure of how humans would react to him, he hides out on the moon. Seeing how poorly things go, Nixon decides humanity isn't ready for beings like him. He also starts having visions showing his creations losing their minds and turning dangerous, particularly one who becomes the Crescent King, a major threat. Nixon decides he'll stop him when the time comes. Nixon goes from being less of a president to a powerful, godlike editor-in-chief of reality itself to save the future. He is definitely not your average politician. Mr. Virtual. Mr. Virtual, also called Mr. V, is the creepy villain in Curse of the Crimson Phantom, a horror story about a cursed Virtual Boy game console. He looks like Mario who took a wrong turn into a nightmare, looking so tall and skinny with stretched limbs, a huge V-shaped grin, and one eye that wanders. He wears red overalls and a cap with a V, trying to look playful, but everything about him feels wrong and unsettling. He haunts users through the console, pulling them into a fake world to scare them senseless and weaken them. He then borrows their bodies briefly like a creepy rental car until they quickly decay. Even outside of possession, he can flicker lights, move objects, and control the console like a ghost in a haunted house. Mr. V's story starts in a circus, where he was abused as a child. He later became a killer, marking his victims with a V. After being shot by a detective named Thomas Anderson at E3 in 1995, his soul latched onto a Virtual Boy, becoming Mr. Virtual. Driven by revenge. One victim, Samantha, was fully possessed. Now he tricks players into using the console so he can return, but her body didn't last, and so the cycle repeats. Mr. V is scary not just because of what he does, but because he hides behind something that once brought joy, becoming a kind of internet legend. He doesn't chase you, he waits until you put the headset on, and by then, it might be too late. Verum Carnis. Verum Carnis, also known as the Singularity, is the last and most mysterious member of the Carnis species. Unlike the other Carnis creatures, the Singularity is a floating black sphere about 1 meter wide. Though it shows no aggression, the Singularity is highly intelligent. It sends encrypted radio signals picked up by smaller Carnis creatures called trimmings, allowing it to control others from a distance because apparently it's too cool to use words. The most well-known Singularity was found in Hudson Bay, surrounded by 7 monoliths that were gathered by a cult at Facility Zero for a mysterious ritual, and was interrupted by carcass agents. To some, the Singularity is a god of evolution, while to others it's a dangerous signal of what's to come. What makes it truly frightening is not what it does, but what it might become if left unchecked. Either way, if your radio starts whispering to you about flesh, maybe just turn it off and walk away slowly. The Angel. The Air Force One Angel, also known as the Angel, is a mysterious and powerful figure from the Monument mythos. It began as 17 brave men who were vaporized during the Great War while using a super-strong laser weapon. Instead of dying, they transformed into a glowing, ghost-like being, seeking revenge on President John D. Rockefeller, whom they blamed for their fate. The Angel appears as a tall, translucent figure of light with no clear face and long, thin limbs. After Air Force One was shot down, it reappeared in a larger, damaged form, and later merged with other beings into a strange, pink glowing monster with enough arms and wings to start its own rock band. It has many powers, such as flying fast, shooting energy beams that can melt steel, and passing through solid objects, and it doesn't need food or rest. In the end, the Angel's souls formed the Manticore constellation, and despite its strange and terrifying powers, the Angel symbolizes sacrifice, and that war comes with a messy, complicated bill. Woodcrawlers. Woodcrawlers, who are often called skinwalkers, are frightening creatures from the Gemini home entertainment universe. These spider-like aliens capture humans to turn them into fake people. Their sneaky nature stirs up fear and curiosity everywhere in the society. Woodcrawlers look like large spiders but have legs like those of a harvestman. They have only been seen as silhouettes, or usually only their legs are visible. They are slightly taller than a person, and when they do appear, they often show a single large eye that shines in the light, making them creepier. These creatures are skilled hunters, able to move quietly across various terrains. Woodcrawlers like to burrow under the homes of large families, launching surprise attacks from below like a knock-knock joke gone horribly wrong, and then transforming their victims into fake people. Their strength is frightening, as they can crush cars easily, making them a serious threat. Woodcrawlers are aliens from Iris and are found all over North America. They are often spotted in places like Moonlight Acres Family Camp, where visitors have nicknamed them skinwalkers. Woodcrawlers are intelligent creatures driven by a strong instinct to hunt and capture. Their ability to turn humans into fake people suggests a deeper, sinister purpose, as they blend into society to achieve their goals. Woodcrawlers hunt silently in a way that amplifies the fear of betrayal and heightens the sense of dread towards the unknown, creating a chilling atmosphere. This makes us wonder who among us might be a fake person. It could just be your closest neighbor who's always smiling and staring at you, waiting for the right moment to strike. Archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel, who is known as the Holy Spirit, is a humanoid character and the main villain in the Mandela Catalog and the first alternate. He also appears in Overthrown, where he disrupts the Annunciation to stop Christ from being born and claims to be humanity's one true savior. He is a master of deception and evil, alternating between two different forms. In his fake form, Archangel Gabriel has a deceptive, beautiful appearance. He has a slim body, wears a long white robe, and his wings are so majestic that any bird would be envious. His charming face comes from his blonde hair, soft features, pale skin, and large, blue, almond-shaped eyes. However, his true form is much scarier. Gabriel can grow up to 3 meters tall, appearing thin and lacking wings. His face is long, with oversized bright eyes and a sinister smile that could scare off a Halloween ghost. This disturbing look creates a sense of fear and unease. Archangel Gabriel first appeared delivering a message to shepherds, but is later replaced by a false version. He represents the idea of a fallen angel, warning against blind faith and deception. He often speaks in whispers, claiming to be the savior of humanity while actually planning its destruction. Archangel Gabriel is a fascinating character who combines beauty and danger. His claims of salvation hide a dark motive that is still unclear, making us question how we can discern the truth from the lies that surround us. Perhaps sometimes the greatest threats were the kindest faces. Today I brought you another analog horror monsters video. Honestly, I don't think we'll ever see the end of these creatures. If there are any analog horror monsters you wanted to see but weren't in the video, let me know in the comments. And make sure to mention which monster from this video was your favorite. I read all your comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, or you might just run into one of these monsters yourself.